Hello YouTube, this is Black Skull and welcome back to Goth for Guys. Now, in this episode, yes, I will finally be addressing the topic of music because, like I've said before, that's what our subculture is based off of, and chances are many of you, much like myself in the beginning, will be aching to see and or hear many of our fellow artists. So, the thing about our genre is it's difficult to determine, especially if you're part of mainstream society, in a sense that they'll basically just look for anyone wearing necro-theatrical makeup and or monochromatic attire, branding them as such without even hardly listening to the music. Now, because of this, various metalheads and or I guess other musicians, I mean, it doesn't even have to be metal, but that's their go-to genre when they call themselves goth. So what they'll do is they'll just basically say that, oh, Nightwish is goth, or Marilyn Manson is goth, or fucking Amy Lee is goth, of Evanescence, and it's just like, how do you know? Our genre is not based around aesthetical proclivities, as often as that gets, correlated into the mix. I mean, yeah, sure, we look a certain way, but that's not the whole, that's not what it's about. Anyone can look a certain way and write a certain music. There's bands all over the place like Joy Division and Depeche Mode. Even earlier stuff from The Cure. They didn't always look a certain way. They were always really plain looking. And even bands like Bauhaus, I'm sorry to say, aside from Daniel Ash, I understand that he had a more androgynous aesthetic going on. But bands like the Sisters of Mercy and, Bauhaus and, pardon me, and I hate to admit it, but many others, like that, they hardly did anything at all with their looks. And as fantastic as they sound, I guarantee you that if you were to go up to a mainstream person and invite them to listen to the such music that we listen to, chances are they'd have two things running on through their head. They'd wonder if it's just basically thrash metal, or they'd just wonder what the hell it is, because they've likely never heard anything like it, and chances are they'll be quite confused as to what our genre may or may not be, at least from their perspective. And that's how it was with me. I'm just speaking off of my own generalized experience. I was under the impression that basically, especially when I was younger, I always thought that the music was all about, death and gloom and doom, and no, it doesn't have to be morose. You ever hear of Spellbound by Susie and the Banshees? That's one of the happiest songs I've ever heard, aside from many of the lyrics. But, it's the sound that most of us are after, and a lot of it is accompanied by reverb, which many don't expect, considering not a whole lot of music genres are like that. And for those of you who don't know what reverb is, it's basically just an echo effect that they add to music. And it sounds like they're singing in a tunnel or a really vast cave. And I think either one, it feels like it's happening live. That's why I prefer it over many other genres. But, it doesn't even have to be actual goth rock, because when you judge the music itself, you're judging two subgenres within the genre. You've got post-punk, which, was how our music was sort of modernized and finally realized as well. And then you have gothic rock, which evolved after. And it was an evolutionary process, as I'm sure many of you may or may not be aware. But yeah, you've got bands from every decade, from the 19th century, that have had various types of sounds to them that would eventually lead on to what has become our music. But really the only ones that were actually able to realize this were, and I'm going to list them here, Joy Division, Bauhaus, The Cure, Specimen, Alien Sex Fiend, and yeah, sure, some of these names are a little more arcane and in some cases colorful, but whatever. Um, those are just five. You know, there could be far more. I mean, obviously, I'm not one that goes too deeply into it. I understand the genre, and that's really all. That's really all that you need to is to understand the genre. I mean, obviously, we're not going to treat you like a total dick just because you're a noob for it, but you know, so long as you understand the genre, you'll know what to search for when you find an interest in the music for yourself. So those are the earlier bands from like the 70s all the way to the early 80s. It evolved through punk, so it's not going to sound anything like anything we've told you before. Like, yeah, sure, you've got the really low vocals. They really sing like their nuts are hanging past their knees. Um, and the instrumentals as well as the vocals, you know, they're gonna sound total reverb. And part of that is because it's part of the style, and part of it's just because the music is older. But it's stuck ever since. I mean, even in bands like the Rosetta Stone, which was from the 80s all the way to the 90s, and even much of the Sisters of Mercy work, you know, a lot of it is a little more modern, but it's definitely how it's supposed to sound, at least now. It was an evolutionary process through art. And more of the modern bands, I guess, would have to be, like I said, the Rosetta Stone, though they're not a group anymore. They actually disbanded quite a while, which I found out recently. Finally crawled under the rock. It's just, oh no. But yeah, many of these bands, unfortunately, you'll never see live, but their work is admirable nevertheless. I mean, the work is still there, even if they're not. But the more modernized bands would have to be the 69 Eyes. Cruise Shadows is another good one. They've been around since the early 2K, I think. I mean, they might have some of their earlier stuff. Same as the 69 Eyes. But you've also got Switchblade Symphony, which unfortunately is another 90s band that's no longer around. I'm having a hard time here. Forgive me, but it's been a while since I've listened to any major goth music. I mostly listen to post-punk. I was listening to Bauhaus earlier, and I've got their song Sanity Assassin stuck in my head, so I wish I'd brought a list. Motherfucker. But yeah, it's better for you to just go out and seek the bands out for yourself. Pardon the profanity, but yeah, the overall experience is just going to be spoiled if you have people like me just disclosing miscellaneous bands to you. It helps. I mean, it's definitely a good way to get some, you know, get your bearings straight around the genre, but you know, just me telling you a specific set of bands to listen to, like, oh, you have to, you know, limit yourself to only this set of bands or this specific genre. Anyone can listen to anything they please. It's just that I'm trying to guide you into what our genre is and why it holds such a meaning for us. But, you know, I can understand how some people may take it. You know, they're going to think, oh, this guy's just trying to limit what we listen to through music, and that's not the case. It's really not. Just trying to help out. And that's essentially the whole meaning of this show, so if you're here for that, then yeah, there's not much else to say. But hopefully, and this is, you know, these are just based mostly on my experience, most of the bands that I listen to, but, you know, that's really all there is to it. I've got two CDs that I listen to from time to time. Oh, London After Midnight. That's my favorite one. I wish I would have realized that sooner. But not only have they been around since the 90s, but they're still around. And I visit their site from time to time on YouTube, as well as their official website. And yeah, they're Sean Brennan. He's such a good guy. I mean, yeah, sure, he's an animal rights activist, and I understand why, because, I've seen the videos that he says, on why he's vegan and why he advocates veganism over many others. But yeah, his music just, it defines modern gothic rock, but it's his own spin on it, if that makes sense. He is one of those artists that you could just listen to for hours on end, and you can never get tired of it. He can be baritone, he can be monotone, he can sound like a parrot if you wanted to, I'm sure, but either way, there's something about his music that just resonates with me well, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, I mostly listen to the older stuff, and I'll take a gander at the newer stuff from time to time, but those are just the basic guides that I'm trying to lay out for you. I'm sure you can find a list out there, and the only reason I'm, notification, sorry, swipe that. And yeah, the only reason I'm even bothering to make this video is because more often than not I become a little too concerned about what people define as actual goth music or not, because some 2 or 3 years ago I was searching around YouTube trying to find information about it for myself, and like I said, the fallacies involving our music have apparently hit YouTube as well, surprisingly enough, considering that's where most of the music I find is currently residing. But there was a bunch of smaller users on YouTube with maybe a few hundred, couple thousand views on their videos. They'd create top 20 to top 10 or whatever types of videos of their favorite goth bands. And it turns out it's just a bunch of metal bands that wear black. So to avoid getting mixed up with that, I mean, that's really the only reason I'm making this video, is to guide everyone, but I've said that twice, so I think I should just end it here before I ramble on any further. So if you like, please like. Feel free to share your obscure little thoughts in the comments below. Share this video with any gothic gentleman you feel may or may not be interested in it. Subscribe if you wish to see more, and as always, thank you so very much for watching, and I love you all.